Hey boys, welcome back to the channel, and we're going to be discussing some more Cricket 22 action here. I'll probably have just some Nets gameplay in the background. But yeah, so there'd been like, little drops of info, but the game was like very close to to coming out. Like it's mighty close now, and I was starting to get a little bit concerned, maybe. Somewhat, and that was mainly to do with the career mode, because we hadn't, the game was so close, and let's be real, like the biggest draw card that keeps people playing like cricket, previous cricket games, is the career mode. Because personally, I think the gameplay, they pretty much nailed the gameplay. I mean, obviously there's always going to be tuning and improvements to be made, but overall I think the gameplay is really solid. Bowling and batting feels very good. I mean, fielding obviously needs a lot of work still, and we'll see if that's I'm sure it's been improved, but we'll see if that's actually somewhat realistic. But batting and bowling feels really good. I think graphically it's always looked pretty good, and obviously this new game is going to look better. But the one big thing, and this happened in the last Cricket 19, one thing I was let down was the career mode, because they did talk about the career mode in that one being a lot more in depth, and having stuff in the career mode, but there was like literally nothing. Like the career mode was very bare bones. The only thing we got was a couple of, like, you got like the cap presentation and a couple of little things, like you had like the little cutscene for the Ashes, but that was basically it. And it was a bit of a letdown, and I was starting to get a little bit concerned, because again, one of the biggest selling points would be the career mode, and they weren't give us anything. But we recently, probably like a week ago, they came out with there's an article talking about the career mode. So I'll go through the article. You might have already seen a video about it, but I thought I'd go through it here just to sort of talk about it and sort of give my opinions of it. So first up, they talk about, and this is it's got me a little bit, again, concerned maybe. I don't want to be like negative, but they start out here: in line with the gameplay, one of the key aspects of career mode was to keep it user-friendly for those who may not have played the game before or not tested out the career mode. From an accessibility point of view, they kind of hold your hand through the first 3 matches and introduce you to kind of the characters that will be showing up as the career progresses. So the characters that are showing up, I'm assuming, like a manager, maybe a coach, that type of thing. I'm assuming that's what they're referring to with the characters. I'm really hoping you can like skip this sort of tutorial in the career mode, because it's obviously for new players, and that's cool. Like I think it's good to any new player to a game, a sports game. They're gonna struggle, so it's good to have some very 5th grader type things to get them through, but people that have played the game, like you don't want to have to like be sort of handheld through a few matches. So hopefully you can skip it. Hopefully they thought ahead on that one. And then he goes on to say here that he's stressing that it's not a story mode, but there will be a storyline that goes with the career mode. So that's fine. I mean, I wasn't expecting like an NBA 2K story mode with actual cutscenes and players talking and stuff like that to each other. And that's fine. Honestly, it doesn't really bother me, because that type of stuff is it's cool for like the first playthrough, but it's got to be pretty in-depth and pretty awesome for you to like keep wanting to play like a story mode. And obviously cricket games, they're not going to have the budget of an NBA, so that type of thing, if they try to go down that route, I don't think it would work anyway. But they are going to have like the storyline elements. So let's so there's an interesting part here. So they say here, we have a beginning and an end of the career now. So you can keep playing it after that end, but there is a goal which they say, I won't say now, but there is a goal to get to when you're playing your career. I mean, it could be anything, but let's be real. Like I would imagine the Ashes is probably the end goal. Maybe not, but that's what I'm assuming anyway. You can also carry on and keep going, but the kind of narrative element of it will kind of stop at that point. So that's a little bit disappointing. I'll keep going here for a second. I'm not going to say it's a story mode. We still have the ability that you can be yourself, play through, and try and be the best you can. So yeah, that's a little bit. We'll see. Like, I hope. I don't know. I mean, again, like, we'll see what happens with that. But hopefully, like, when the storyline finishes, like, let's say it is the Ashes, you get to the Ashes, and then that's sort of the storyline done. Obviously, you can keep playing and playing with that career character, but hopefully, like and I'll get to it in a sec here, but there's media duties and other sort of little things. Hopefully, like, that still pops up through the career, but it's sounding like when you sort of reach the end goal that it sort of all stops, which, yeah, is a little, I don't know. I guess it depends how long it actually takes you to get to the end goal. So, you know, for the average person, probably, you know, playing through it for the full length, however long it'll be, that probably will be like sufficient, but I guess that's sort of is sort of wait to be seen on that front. So we go on here, media duties. Added to the immersive feel of the game is the introduction of media duties for the first time, with press conferences, player of the match interviews, and more. We've got press conferences now, which is a big thing, which we did in our previous tennis game, and you've got press conferences as captain, but also man of the match and things on the pitch that you do. So it's all kind of bringing in more of the elements you'd have as a cricket player in real life. Hopefully these press conferences aren't repetitive, nonsensical, and altogether irritating like a certain high-profile sports title. I don't know what game he's having a dig at there, but honestly, I'll bring up the tennis. They mentioned here the tennis, which Big N obviously made the AO Tennis games, and yeah, I played the career mode in AO Tennis 2, I think it was, which had the press conferences and that sort of thing, and they actually implemented it pretty well. And that was actually, I think that was because I'm pretty sure AO Tennis 2 came out before Cricket 19, did it? Am I backwards in that? Maybe I am, because I was disappointed. I'm like, where's that type of thing in the cricket game? But yeah, they did a really good job with the AO Tennis, because they had like a really funny part where like you got like, it wasn't called Twitter, but you'd get like these comments from people, and they were actually like funny comments, like depending like how you perform, like it would pop up like people would comment on your performances like Twitter, and it was honestly rather funny. Like I got some enjoyment out of that sort of stuff. And the press conferences, you could be like a good guy, you could be a bit of a jerk, you could go along with things, like you had sort of like the renegade or sort of good person type, I can't think of the word, but you had sort of the option to be sort of either or, and it was cool. I think they did a good job, and hopefully that goes forward, and hopefully they've improved a lot as well, because they did a good job with the AO Tennis. So that'll be interesting, and it'll also be interesting to see, like, if because obviously if you're playing your career mode character, if you're not the captain yet, do you just not see the press conferences? Like, does your captain of the team still get like a cutscene of the press conference, or is it only when you're the captain, or if you get player of the match, do you ever see the cutscene of that? That'll be interesting, because like if let's say you're playing for Australia, whoever's the captain, you're not the captain, but someone else is, like at the end of the game, do they still go to the press conference? Like, is there still like a little cutscene of that, or is it just nothing if it's not involving you? That's sort of the remains to be seen. And this is the point what I talked about before, like when your career storyline finishes, does the media stuff just stop? Like, does that keep going? Like, hopefully, but I guess wait to be seen. Then we have here the minigame mayhem. So there are also minigames being introduced to the career mode to help you improve on your skills, but it won't be straightforward. Performing well in the minigames will help your player. However, there is the risk that poor performance will impact fatigue, something that has not been featured before. So that's very good. And again, I bring it back to Rugby League Live 3 had the mini games in that game, and you could go through those and increase your stats like that. They were pretty like repetitive, and you know they you know, it is what it was, but they just got rid of them in Rugby League Live 4, and then there was nothing like that in cricket. So I was always like, why did they remove that feature? So thankfully they brought back like the mini games. You know, obviously they're going to get repetitive, and they're not going to, you know, it's not going to be the main part of the game, but it's just good to have another way to further improve your stats and to, you know, just mix up the career mode a little bit, because obviously the main draw is actually playing cricket, but you know, it's cool to mix it up now and again and have a little bit of a side thing to it. So each of the mini games has a boost to certain things, and you've got a risk reward with it. If you do it badly, then it's going to affect fatigue, which they talked about. Whereas before, you could jet off around the world playing in all sorts of global competitions, test matches, and whatever other commitments you had. This year, you will need to manage your player more effectively. With more focus on your player's career, there is that added element of realism and managing your time and commitments properly. So that's honestly really good as well, because yeah, it was sort of like the career in previous games. It just wasn't a career really. Like there wasn't really any like part of like controlling or managing your player. Like, yeah, like they say here, you could literally play in every competition. Like, you would be over in the Caribbean Cup, you would get a contract offer to play, you know, wherever else, in next, you know, whenever it was on the fixture next and you got picked, you'd just be there. And it was always like, you just, you know, you would agree to everything, and then you would just play in every tournament that you wanted to. So it was always a little bit, you know, it was fine, but there was no sort of managing element to it. So it's cool there that they do have an emphasis on, you know, you got to sort of plan how you're going to actually play your career. You know, obviously there's players that play in all three formats, but you know, it's not as easy as just going from country to country and switching it up at all times. So it sounds promising. It sounds very promising. I you know, I would have liked a little bit more. Not, you know, we'll see what it actually is when the time comes, but you know, I want more out of the career than just a few mini games and a couple of press conferences. I'm hoping there's more. You know, I think it's the one thing that's been lacking in previous cricket games, and I think it's the one thing that they definitely could improve a lot on. So yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, obviously I'm excited. It's been a long time since. Well, it's felt a long time, because I don't know. Cricket 19 was good, and I played it a lot, but I've definitely been itching for a new cricket game for a while now. So yeah, that's the career mode. I'm glad we finally got a little bit of talk about it. Because like I said, the game is like very close to releasing, and they really hadn't given us any sort of info. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and comment, and I'll you know, plenty more Cricket 22 discussions and whatever else when we get some info and whatnot. So I'll see you guys in the next one.